Finally back from vacation, ready to play Minecraft again without having to worry about anything else. Oh shit, the duels maps. So, in my ultimate wisdom, I forgot to rank the duels maps. So, we're gonna do, I guess, a little adventure together and using the same criteria. We're going to take a look at all the duels maps here and see what we can do and see which ones we like the most. S, A, B, C, D, of course, as you know, we're just doing these because there's nothing else for me to rank. So let's get to it, I guess. So starting off with Delfino Square, I will say I like it. I think in terms of design, it definitely checks a lot of boxes for me personally. It's interesting all the way through. There's not a dull area to look at. Um, yeah, I like the little. I think outside of the design element of it, or sort of like gameplay element of it, I think it's fun with all these little rooms that are all different. They all mean something differently. Um, not mean anything, but like they're all built different. They show something off that's a little different. Different palettes, different textures. It's fun. It's definitely fun to look at. I think on the design aspect alone, it's probably one of my favorite duel maps. Quake Duels maps. I don't know any other duels maps. Going on gameplay though, I understand why, at least from my perspective, a lot of people don't like it. From what I've heard, um, yeah, it's definitely not great. A lot of spawns, you'll spawn up here, and then you'll just run down here, and you have to like just play a timing game with the dude sitting in center. Not fun. Not fun. It's a lot of timing your shots around the corner, but that's all Quake Duels is in the end anyway, isn't it? Um, these rooms don't help. Don't lend themselves to making this a much more fun map to play on. You get someone who just decides that, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit back in that back corner over there and not come out until they either jump over and I have to do something about it or whatever. That's not fun. Gameplay wise, it is not fun. Um, but I do think it's pretty. I think I like the design of it a good bit. So with that, let's go to our tier list here. Okay, we're gonna put Delfino Square. I think we can put it in a solid B tier. I think with the design being as fun as it is, it would be higher if the gameplay wasn't as bad as it is. I don't like the gameplay, so I think we go style brings it up to B, or style would bring it up to S, and then I think the gameplay drops it down to B. I think we get a nice dead center for the start here. All right, let's go to the next one. The next map being Depository. I think Depository, visually, not a terrible map. I think it's sort of pretty. I think it's simple. It kind of reminds me of Apex. It kind of doesn't though. It's like a mixture of Martian and Apex and all that. Just with the block palettes, of course, and like the prismarine lights and then the red carpet, of course. It is of its own thing though. But I will say, visually, it's not the most stunning, but it's also not the ugliest either. We'll get there later. But gameplay wise, I think this map is one of the maps that suffer the most from spawn prot. Throughout this video, you'll hear me say spawn prot is a problem, especially in Quake Duels, because it really is a problem and it ruins a lot of these maps. But Yeah, I think this map is sort of ruined. Like this spot here, I'm already getting flashbacks. It's like someone sits there and then you have to play your game here. If they have spawn prot, you're screwed. If you have spawn prot, you screw them. Um, there's a lot of spots where it's sort of campy. If someone's got a faster reaction time or other means of getting to you faster, you're screwed. They can just stand here, and if you keep spawning there, that keeps happening. A lot of campy areas in this map. Not my favorite gameplay wise, outside of spawn problems. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. See, that's the problem with these maps. I don't really know what I'm gonna say about them. There's not much to say about them. So let's go. They're small. They're so small. There's not a lot to see. I've just seen the entire map in the first 5 minutes of looking at it. All right. Let's go to the let's go to the tier list here. So going to the tier list, I think we're gonna put Depository in a C. I think visually it's not as stunning as Delfino Square. I think it plays worse. I mean, it plays faster. I don't know. I don't think it plays great. I mean, like at least Delfino looks good, right? So I think we'll leave it in C tier for now, and if I change it, I change it. We'll find out later. So let's go to the next map. Next map, Mineshaft. So just personally, I think this is like a spiritual successor to Mines. Although it doesn't share the name, other than it is a mine shaft of sorts, similar to Mines. I think visually it's a pretty basic map. I mean, it's all basic colors anyway. Like dirt, stone, cobble. It's not a wood. It's not anything super impressive. I think the structure itself is pretty interesting, but other than that, it's mostly rock, and rock is pretty bland to the eye, and just to my eye at least, unless they're adding a lot of texture, which they obviously did not do. Other than the top parts here, they added some wall. But yeah, I think visually it's not as impressive to me. That's just, again, me personally. I don't really like stone, this much stone, but you're really not looking at it. That's the same for that's the same for every map here. You're not really looking at the map itself. You're just trying to gauge the surroundings around you and the situation to try and do your best here. So that's it visually here. Gameplay, I think this is probably one of my favorites. I think this is probably top. I mean, there's only 5 maps, but top 3 gameplay wise. It flows relatively nice. I mean, you can make it to the center. Some problems here where you can sort of stand up in this area and then just kind of try and spawn camp somebody here, although spawn prod exists, or just sort of stay in this general area. I do think this map leads to a lot of shots where you're not going to see who shot you because because it's so vertical. So I mean, on the on one hand, it's cool because you can get those shots. You're like, ooh, boom, 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 boom. On the other hand, that could also be you on the other end, the business end of a railgun. So whether that's the best or not is up to the user and the receiver. But I think it's a totally serviceable map. I think it's not the worst. I don't think it even has the problems that Delfino has. I think it actually plays better than Delfino, way better than Depository. The games might last longer here, which is, I think, a nice thing. I mean, I think some of these duels maps can last really, really short amount of time. So to extend it a little bit is kind of fun. Extend the game out, have more fun with your opponent. And again, there's not much here, so yeah. I mean, let's just go to the tier list. I don't know what else to say. So going to the tier list, I think Mineshaft's an A. I know none of the things I just said may even sound like I mean that's an A, but I think it definitely is an A map it plays better than Delfino and Depository, and it, sure may not look as exuberant or as cool as Delfino Square is. The structure is cool, but I think the gameplay sort of brings it up there. So let's go to the next map. And here we are in Gorge. I think Gorge is low-key my favorite map. I think I've had the best games here. Okay. Yeah, let's just go to visuals. Sorry, my head's all over the place. Visually, I think it's probably my favorite. I think it's a cool, sand sort of canyon-esque looking, western looking sort of map, like a railroad you'd see in like an old western. The canyon look is really cool. The dead bushes, the dry dirt, sand everywhere. I think it's really cool. And yeah, wagon. What else is there? It's a cool map. I like the caverns under here. They're fun to look at. The skyline's cool, I guess. That house is pretty cool, I guess. Going into gameplay, I think the only concern I have with it, the problem I have with it, is the fact that there's 4 layers to it, and so if you're up here and you're waiting for someone to show up this top area, someone down there is going to try and find you, and while you're standing up there, they're running through here trying to get to where you are, and it's gonna take them forever to get there, and that's if they don't move, jump to the other side, which is even worse over here. This one actually is 4 layers, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, and there's whole underside areas, but it leads to some pretty intense battles. I like I said before, I think this is the map where I've had the most fun, much more engaging duels happening here. Yeah, let's go to the tier list. I guess I don't know. I really don't know what else to say to these maps. Yeah, Gorge. I think, you know what? For shits and giggles, we're just gonna put it in S. I think it's visually fun. I think it plays the best out of every map here. I don't think there's really a problem to it. So, other than the ones I mentioned, but those are really minor and they add to the actual gameplay. So, yeah, let's go to our 5th and final map here. And here we are in our 5th and final map, Thalassa. It looks abandoned with this shader pack. I'm just looking in these dark quarters over there, and there's a zombie. That's not supposed to be there. It's all right. That's our friend. Yeah, so it looks abandoned here, but that's just the shader. Thalassa visually, I think it's probably, just thinking off the back of my head here, I don't know. I think it's the most visually distinct. I think I recognize it better than, I guess, other than Gorge. I think Gorge is the other one that sort of looks on its own, very unique. But this one I think is really cool. I like the mix of the quartz. I think visually this is my second place. I think Gorge looks the most pretty, but I like this one second. I like the colors here. I like the blue prismarine. I like the mix of the wood and the sand at the bottom, and the minor gold. There is minor gold here, so can't not recognize the gold. Oh, and then the fishes, the sort of fish on the outside. Yeah, the little fake murals on the outside here. Those are pretty cool. Fake fish, similar to Sunken. Oh no, never mind. Yeah, I just remembered. This sort of looks like Sunken. Yeah, Gorge is the only one that sort of looks its own. Gameplay wise, I think it's pretty good. I think this center here leads to probably some of my favorite sort of actions, where you're sort of jumping along and then trying to find someone while you're jumping. I think that's probably my favorite thing. You get a little bit in Gorge and Mines, but with Mines there's so much in the way that you really can't do it. This really frees it up. I think this is my favorite part of Thalassa, is just this center part here where you can just go crazy and just jump around. I can't tell you how many times I've just straight up gone this direction and then use my dash to then just stop midair and go to the other direction. It's really cool. I think that's really cool. I like the design a lot. Oh, for Spider Friend. Gameplay, I think gameplay outside of that, I think is generally fine. I do think the one issue is the sort of quick time event that happens when you spawn, where you have to sort of meet your maker as soon as you spawn, if you're not fast enough. So yeah, that I think that was a big oversight, where you can just see the person who spawned as soon as they spawn, and if you're not faster, then you're dead. So that's pretty annoying, and if that just happens over and over again, you're kind of screwed there. Oh, look, the mirror on the ceiling. All right, let's go to the tier list. So, I'm not going to rank any map a D, because I don't think any map deserves it. I think they're all quality maps. I think the only problems that they suffer from are of the gameplay itself. So I think I'm going to put Thalassa in... I think I spoke highly enough about it. I think I'll put it above Mineshaft. I think it's an A tier map. Yeah, but I don't think it's as good as Gorge, in my opinion. And in fact, you know what? I think Depository, we were sort of hemming and hawing about Depository. I think Depository can go to B. I think it's a very, very good map. I think the games can be fun. I think there are just a lot of problems to it, similar to Delphino with those corridors that lead to some problems. But yeah, there you go. That's our tier list of the 5 duels Quake Duels maps. And so yeah, thank you for watching another tier list done by me. I guess this is my niche at this point, where all I do is make tier lists of things that people suggest to me. People being one person. I'm not gonna name you still. That's just not happening. So if you have any other ideas, I guess just throw them down there, and I'll do my best to make it happen in 4 to 5 months, just because that's how I operate. I do think a lot of the Quake Duels maps, just sort of going back to the premise of the video, I do think a lot of the Quake Duels maps are fine. I think they did a decent job making them so that they were actually relatively fun for the game mode. I think just the lack of understanding of the problems of the mode itself sort of pull back some of the best parts of these maps. Spawn prot, sides of corridor, stuff like that. The addition of many different rooms to hide in, whatever. But yeah, I think we did a decent job, just pulling it up real quick. I think I like it. I think I like the tier list. If you got any problems with it, let me know. I'll respond probably. I'll look at it. So with that, like I said, if you have any other things you want me to tier list, if you ask real nicely, I might do it faster. I might do it whenever, maybe not 4 to 5 months, maybe a month. Either way, thank you for watching. You can go now. I said shoo. Were you looking at my desktop for 2 months, or my main menu screen for 2 months? That's kind of weird. There they are again. There's those things popping up on my video. Wait, I'm in a video.